After the discovery of electrons and protons, J.J. Thomson proposed an atomic model and named it as the plum pudding model of atom. So according to this model, J.J. Thomson considered the shape of the atom as a sphere, and as both the negatively charged particles and positively charged particles, that is the electrons and protons, are present in the atom, so according to J.J. Thomson, the atom is electrically neutral because equal number of electrons and protons are present in the atom. So according to this plum pudding model, he gave the shape of the plum pudding model. Let me show you. So Thomson considered the shape of the atom to be a sphere of uniformly positively charged particles. That means throughout the space inside the sphere, it is consists of the positively charged particles, and electrons are embedded into the sphere. Clear? So this is the plum pudding model according to J.J. Thomson. So the total positively charged particles, or we can say the total positive charge and the negative charge, both are equal. So overall the atom is electrically neutral. And the last theory of the plum pudding model was the mass of an atom is considered to be uniformly distributed throughout the atom. Clear? So these are the electrons, and these vacant spaces, this is the sphere of uniform positive charge. Clear? So in this way Thomson explained his atomic model. Later on, Rutherford was working on another experiment regarding the alpha particles on the gold foil, and this experiment is known as the gold foil experiment of Rutherford. So let's discuss the gold foil experiment now. And this gold foil experiment led to the discovery of nucleus and hence the Rutherford's atomic model. Look at these pictures. This was the original setup used by Rutherford in his gold foil experiment. So in this experiment, Rutherford bombarded a beam of alpha particles. You can see here, this was the source of alpha particles. So he projected the alpha particles on an ultra thin gold foil. Clear? This was the gold leaf or gold foil. So he projected the alpha particles on these ultra thin gold foil, and then detected the scattered alpha particles in the zinc sulfide screen. This screen was made up of the zinc sulfide screen. Okay, so whatever the scattering of the alpha particles was, he detected those. So the alpha particles deflected in this pattern. Clear? So he observed that most of the alpha particles, they passed through the foil without any deflection. Means this is the original foil, this is the simplified structure. So he observed that those spectra of alpha particles, most of them, they deflected in a straight way. Okay, that means most of the particles, they passed through the foil without any deflection. These rays showed no deflection. Some of the alpha particles deflected to a small angle. You can see here, this is one deflection, small angle. This is another deflection. And very few, even some are there which bounced back. You can see here, only one here is completely bouncing back, and some are bouncing back but to a different angle. So these are the different deflections. Some of them passed throughout the foil, some of them had a definite angle of scattering, and some bounced back. Clear? So he concluded that most of the atom's mass and its entire positive charge are confined in a small core called the nucleus. So this gold foil experiment led to the discovery of nucleus. So according to Rutherford, most of the atom's mass and its entire positive charge, they are confined in a small core called nucleus, and the positively charged particles are called protons. Clear? Then he also concluded that most of the volume of an atom is empty space, as the straight line means as the alpha particles, they passed through the foil without any deflection. So he concluded that most of the volume of an atom was the empty space. Clear? Another thing that he observed was, or he concluded, that is the number of the negatively charged electrons dispersed outside the nucleus is same as the number of positively charged particles inside the nucleus. So it explained the overall electrical neutrality of the atom. Clear? As the positively charged particles are confined within the nucleus, so he concluded that the number of negatively charged electrons they dispersed outside the nucleus is same as the number of positively charged particles inside the nucleus. So according to Rutherford, electrons are outside the nucleus and the protons are inside the nucleus. Clear? According to the observations of the gold foil experiment, Rutherford suggested one atomic structure, and this was called the Rutherford's atomic model. So according to Rutherford, most of the atom's mass and the entire positive charge of the atom was confined at the center, and this was called the nucleus. So in this way he discovered nucleus. Then he said that most of the volume of an atom is the empty space. This was also explained according to the gold foil experiment, because most of the alpha particles they pass through the metal foil without any deviation, right? Next point was the size of the nucleus is very small compared to the size of atom. This was also explained according to the gold foil experiment, because most of the alpha particles they passed straight through the gold foil. So it proved that the size of the nucleus was very small, as most of the space was vacant. Another thing that he included in the atomic model was that the electrons revolve around the nucleus and they maintained a distance from the nucleus, as well as they maintained the distance from other electrons also. Again, Rutherford said that an atom is electrically neutral because total positive charge and the total negative charge, means the positive charge inside the nucleus and the negative charge outside the nucleus, that is the proton and electrons, they are equal inside the atom. So the atom is overall electrically neutral. Another concept given by Rutherford was that the electrons revolve around the nucleus in a circular path, and he named these paths as the orbits. So he correlated the atomic structure to that of the solar system, because in the solar system there is the fixed sun at the center, and he correlated this position of the sun as the location of the nucleus. And as the planets revolve around the sun, he said that the electrons revolve around the nucleus in a particular orbit. But this concept was the main drawback of Rutherford's atomic model, because according to the classical law of mechanics or the electrodynamics, if an electrically charged particle is in motion, then it will radiate some energy. So according to Rutherford, the electrons were non-stop, or we can say there was a continuation of the motion of the electron. So if the electrons were rotating around the nucleus, that means they were radiating some energy. That means there was some loss of energy. So we can say that if there is the loss of energy, then the nucleus will gradually pull the electrons towards itself, and finally the total atom will get collapsed. So this was not the proper way to explain the atomic theory. So this was the failure of Rutherford, that he could not explain the stability of the atom. Now, to explain the stability of the atom, another scientist named Niels Bohr, he gave the different atomic model to explain the stability of the atom. So let's discuss the main postulates of Bohr's atomic model. Niels Bohr postulated that the electrons revolve around the nucleus in a fixed orbit, and he named them as the shells. Now, according to Bohr, these shells, they have a fixed amount of energy. So he also called them as the energy levels. Clear? So these shells are also called the energy levels, and each electron have a fixed energy level. Again, Bohr said that when the electrons revolve around the nucleus in a fixed orbit, so they neither lose energy nor gain energy. Clear? Another thing that Bohr said, or Bohr postulated, is that an electron, when it is revolving around the nucleus in a fixed orbit, so if it jumps or if it gains some energy, then it can jump to the next higher orbit. Okay, or if it loses the energy, then it will come to the lower energy level. Clear? So these are the postulates which were said by the scientist Niels Bohr. So if this one is the nucleus, so the first shell, that is n is equal to 1, the number 1 shell, it is called the first energy level or K shell. Okay, again this one is n is equal to 2, that means the second shell, means second from the nucleus. So this is the second energy level or L shell. Again this one, the third shell from the nucleus, this is the third energy level or M shell. So in this way, different energy levels were named according to their number of the shell from the nucleus. Clear? So this was the concept given by Niels Bohr. The orbit which is closer to the nucleus was named as the K shell, then L, then M, like this. Clear? And n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the number of shells from the nucleus. Clear? So till now we have the concept of the atomic structure, which have the protons inside the nucleus and electrons outside the nucleus. But scientists then realized that atomic model offered by Rutherford is not complete. So various experiments showed that mass of the nucleus is approximately twice than the number of protons. So what is the origin of this additional mass? So Rutherford postulated the existence of some neutral particle having mass similar to that of the proton, but there was no direct experimental evidence. Some other theories and experiments were also done for the discovery of neutron. The additional mass was due to the neutrons, and these experiments, they led to the discovery of the neutrons. The concept of neutron was given by James Chadwick. He analyzed the energies of different targets by bombarding the light-weighted nuclei with the alpha particles, and he discovered that there is the existence of a new particle which is chargeless, and it had the similar mass to that of the proton. So this particle was called as the neutron. In his experiment, he bombarded the alpha particles to the light-weighted nuclei like beryllium. So you can see here, on bombarding the alpha particle, on bombarding this light nuclei beryllium with the alpha particle, another element was formed and some chargeless particle was produced which had some mass. Clear? So this chargeless particle was named as neutron. Clear? This chargeless particle, that is neutron, it was found that this is chargeless. So this particle did not deflected the magnetic or the electric field. So this proved that this is electrically neutral, and its mass was found to be equal to that of the proton, that is 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 24 grams. Clear? So this was all about the atomic structure, and in the next class we will discuss about some other features of the atoms and regarding the chemical bonding. Clear?